Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, licensed attorney, crisis strategist, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we dive into crises that are rocking your world. He calls it the biggest health crisis the United States has ever faced. Dan Cohen is co-founder and chief performance officer at Human Powered Health. The stats bear out why this crisis will require drastic steps for an all-out reboot. Dan is here for the case file I call Metabolic Crisis. Dan, you and your colleagues say we're measuring the wrong things.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think the traditional wellness programs that an employer would typically offer, they've been doing the same thing for, 30 years or so. And while some of the metrics that we're collecting make sense, blood and to get cholesterol and triglycerides and other types of biometrics.
Pretty natural, age-old things to
do. But there's more that we can do. There's more assessments that we know based off of research, things like VO2 max, things like your aerobic capacity, body composition, that, in our opinion, would be much more impactful for making long-term, longitudinal health changes.
So let's get into that. So there's some terms here. When we talk about a metabolic crisis, what does that even mean? What is that term?
So metabolic crisis, some people might have heard of the term called metabolic syndrome. It's essentially a cluster of conditions that, when you look at them in totality, have a profound impact on a person's metabolic health. Things like cholesterol, high cholesterol, diabetes, glucose, triglycerides, waist circumference, body composition. When you couple all those things together, that's metabolic syndrome. If you look at the statistics in the United States, only 7% of U.S. adults are of the right cardiometabolic health.
So that means only 7%. So 93% of us.
Yes.
And I'm probably in that bunch, are not in the right metabolic framework.
That is correct.
That's like beyond a crisis. That's a mega crisis.
It is a significant crisis, both physically, psychologically, economically. It's a massive problem. 6 out of 10 Americans have a single chronic issue.
And what are some of those chronic issues? You did mention diabetes.
Hypertension, high cholesterol, elevated A1Cs and blood glucose levels, things that can lead to diabetes, which we know the cost differential between a non-diabetic and a diabetic is significant. It can be up to $10,000, $20,000.
When you say that cost, is that to insurance companies? Is it to each of us as individual consumers?
Both.
Okay.
Yep. There's approximately 43 million or so Americans over the age of 18 that are on an employer-sponsored medical plan. Those employers obviously want to make sure that they're managing the health of these populations, because the claim spends can be pretty significant. And so that's a big part of what we're talking about here. The United States, we're spending approximately $5 trillion a year on healthcare expenditures.
Wow.
That's about 18% or so of our total GDP. Now, depending on how you look at the data and where you're getting your sources, some estimates are projecting that up to $4 trillion of that $5 trillion can be attributed to, chronic disease issues, mainly largely preventable issues.
And let's talk about
lifestyle.
that. So when you say largely preventable, so of this $5 billion cost, $4 billion of it, we could probably wipe away if we just were measuring different things, living in a healthier way. So what is step one? For crisis filers who are watching this, listening to this, they're freaking out a little. I think of my own health framework right now and some of the things I'm dealing with injuries from running, things like that. What is step one?
The surprising thing is that the numbers are going in the wrong direction. We know that diabetes, for example, has quadrupled since 1980, probably actually more. Cardiovascular disease remains the number one cause of death. So we know what's going on, but we also know the medicine. We know how to fix this issue, this rather complex issue, based off of decades of research. And from our perspective, if you look at the research on these biomarkers and these biometrics, things like body composition, so how much visceral fat, the fat around your organs as an example, your aerobic capacity, so your VO2 max, resting metabolic rate, hydration, grip strength is a indicator. If you look at all of these markers, they're all highly correlated to all-cause mortality and longevity, all of them. Meaning that if you can get a baseline understanding of your physiological metrics, and I'm not talking necessarily about an estimate from your Garmin or your smartwatch, but actually going in and getting these advanced testing measurements done. And then you can take that data and create a hyper-personalized plan around our 4 pillars, which are movement, mindset, nutrition, and recovery. And then you can maximize those values relative to who you are over a long period of time. The statistics are very clear. You have a very good shot at living a long, productive, healthy, full life, barring some unforeseen situation.
Well, so there is a recipe. I mean, you're giving us a call to action. And we all have hearts, we all have lungs. What is the first, so Human Powered Health, your company, and it's a national company, you are really trying to bring these kinds of measurements and understanding to the nation and even beyond. But what is a simple thing? I mean, some people have, many have not heard of a DEXA scan. Mm-hmm. Why would someone, what is it, and why would someone go get a DEXA scan?
Yeah, a DEXA scan is the gold standard for body composition around it. And essentially what it is, it's a big bed that you lay down in. It scans you, and it gives you a lot of really important metrics on your body composition. So things like your subcutaneous fat, so the fat that, we call it vanity fat. But then it also drills down into the fat around your organs. So how much visceral fat, damaging visceral fat do you have on your organs, which is driving a lot of the metabolic disease in this country. Most people have no idea what that is because obviously they've never done this type of testing. But there's also bone mineral density. As we age, your bone mineral density starts to go down pretty quickly if you don't use it. And that can lead to osteoporosis, osteopenia, which of course can cause a cascade of health consequences once you're over a certain age, around 65.
Is there anything that's not reversible? So if someone's out there 40, 50, 60, even 70 years old, that they just couldn't start today to start reversing?
Everything that we're talking about in terms of your metabolic health is completely reversible. Bone mineral density, once you start using strength training and doing weight-bearing activity, that can improve significantly. Body fat, in terms of the subcutaneous and the visceral, starts to go down.
I have a visceral reaction when you say body fat because that is an area for me that I'm working on. But it's tough as we get
very difficult.
Older and women with hormonal changes happening.
That we could have a whole nother segment on that piece. That is significant and profound, absolutely.
When we'll have you back on that. So you give us hope because things are reversible, but it does require action. So yes, you can go get all these tests, but what are some basic lifestyle improvements that you and your team recommend that we all can do?
Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff can be intimidating to people. And I think getting started is probably the most difficult thing for most people because they don't know what they don't know. And there's a lot of things that they can read on Dr. Google and influencers and types of
Dr. Google,
things.
I love it.
But the bottom line is if you can just move each day, and go for a 30-minute walk each day and eat a balanced diet, of fruits, vegetables, and the right amount of protein, the right amount of
And you don't really
carbohydrates.
have to deprive yourself.
You don't have to deprive yourself. If you can just do that and do some light weight-bearing activity, say 2 times a week, that's really most people will
It's a good recipe.
be fine. It's a great recipe. I look at my dad. He's 80 years old. He's a pathologist. He still is working.
Does he have the good skin that you do?
He's got good skin, I guess. He's actually got a beard.
Okay, so a lot more hair.
But he walks every day. Every single day, he doesn't miss it, and because he knows the impact that it's having on his overall metabolic health.
And when we talk about walking, because I've just seen things going around Instagram about based on your age and the distance. I mean, what's a good walk? I mean, not everyone's going to go out and walk 10 miles.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, do it based off of time. 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and just build from there. The kind of the rule of thumb is, 10% or so every week. But your body adapts quickly once you start getting into a consistent, regular pattern. And that is kind of the point where people start to feel the physiological impacts, and they're like, hey, there's something to this. Like I always say, for people that are into like 5Ks and 10Ks and they like running, as an example, nobody just does one 5K.
Right.
They do one, and then they're like, and then it just builds from there. So you don't have to be an Olympian. You don't have to do 20 hours of working out a week, but you have to be motivated and you have to take action.
And you don't have to be a racer. I mean, whether you're swimming, biking, running, it doesn't have to be in a competitive environment. The best is to compete with yourself.
That is right.
Getting up and doing it every day.
Yeah. And in our labs, what we're seeing is most people now that are coming in don't identify as athletes. They are motivated individuals that want to improve their health span, their lifespan. They want to be active with their grandkids. They just want to feel better and move better, but they don't know where to go and how to get started. And so they come to us. We give them a great baseline of where they're at physiologically, and then we give them the support that they need to continue on their journey, because it is a journey. It's a journey,
and it really doesn't end. But you have taught me that we do still need drastic steps in order for the United States health to be rebooted.
Yes.
And we see those narratives all the time. I mean, that is nothing new. So it can seem really overwhelming.
It can. I would say, from a U.S. healthcare perspective, if we could get DEXA scans and aerobic capacity, so VO2 max tests, covered as a preventive medical service, those two things alone would have a profound impact on the overall health of the United States.
And even the cost for insurers.
In the cost.
Yeah.
Because then you would know where individuals are at, and then you put them on a lifestyle change plan, and they start to make improvements. Healthcare expenditure, claim spend goes down. It would dramatically change how we think about health in this country. More proactive. Our system is set up to be reactive.
Very reactive. And I want to ask about insurance claims data. There are definitely some shocking stats out there. What can you tell us to give us kind of a visual on the kinds of claims and the chances that these insurance companies might one day actually listen to you and cover DEXA scans?
Yeah, I mean, I used to work for a large healthcare organization, and I would see claims data of very large organizations that have tens of thousands of employees. And what you would see is a breakdown of the population from, if you look at it from a chart perspective, you'd have early at risk individuals. So they'd be able to identify individuals that have markers that they're not in a metabolic health crisis, but they could be if there's not an intervention. And then you move over to individuals that are early at risk with comorbidities, and then you move into diabetes, and then you move into diabetes with certain comorbidities, and then you move into chronic disease. And you would see, as you move across this chart, the cost would just increase dramatically. And so you'd see most of the claim spend of a lot of these organizations were on things like diabetes, musculoskeletal disease. So as weight increases, obviously it's going to put a lot of strain on your connective tissues and your bones. And then you have back issues and you have knee issues, and then you have to go get orthopedic surgeries and things like that. Smoking, believe it or not, is still a big issue in this country.
Yeah, that's funny that you say that, because I don't think about smoking as much anymore, although I do see cigar smokers have gone up.
Yeah.
But is there a silver lining anywhere? I mean, are you seeing any positive movement in the upward direction?
So there's been this longevity movement. I think longevity is just a word that's been thrown around, but I think of it more as health optimization and being more proactive and getting away from this very reactive health system that we're in, where you go to your doctor when you're not feeling well. You're told that you have high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and then you're like, okay, thank you. And they're like,
no real prescription.
I'll see you next year. Mm-hmm. So there's this movement, this awareness that there are things that you can do to improve your health. GLP-1s are coming online. People are taking GLP-1s, which are fine, I think, for some individuals, as long as they're titrating off and moving into more lifestyle.
That's a whole other
issues.
episode we have to do,
That's
because that really is its own crisis in my mind.
So yes, there's a more of an awareness about being proactive, and that, there are things you can do around exercise and nutrition to improve health. But we have a long way to go before we can wave the white flag of victory here. It's going to take time, but I think we're at the very beginning of it.
All right. Well, some hard facts. It is a crisis, but you've also given us hope. Thanks so much, Dan. You can connect directly with Dan and his team at humanpoweredhealth.com. Today's case file is powered by Closet Therapy. Closet Therapy is a modern approach to personal styling. Created by Zoe Stern, the focus is simple: helping you feel aligned, confident, and comfortable in your clothes. Services range from closet audits to personal shopping. The magic happens in a private digital platform that organizes your wardrobe and provides curated outfit guidance. Your virtual closet right at your fingertips. Practical, personal, designed for real life. Explore options at myclosettherapy.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.